Hey everybody, welcome to Lending Leadership. It's me, Rach, and I'm here with Dave Holland today. And we get a special sneak peek in chatting just with Dave and talking about how he got to where he is today and, asking some pretty unique questions. Dave, I have some pretty fun things teed up for us, and I'm excited to just have some one-on-one time with you.
I'm excited too. Let's go.
All right. So, we oftentimes have the three of you on, Robert, Tom, and you, and I love the dynamic between the three of you, but I'm excited to just learn more about you and how you got to the position that you're in today. I know nothing's easy. Sometimes people like to look at our success at where we are and think, oh, wow, I could never do that. But we know there's a lot of work that goes behind that and goes into that.
It's not a straight line.
It's certainly not a straight line. It never is. It never is. So, all right, Dave, let's start with this.
Throw me a softball, please.
Okay, I'll throw you a softball.
Get me warmed up, Rachel.
Okay. I would actually love to know, what was your very first job? And, what was something that maybe it taught you about leadership, if anything?
Yeah. So my first job in high school, I was
Ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, landscaping, going door to door, those type of things. My first real job in high school was I was the field general and head ref for a youth soccer league. So had to set up the nets, handled all the refs. I had some adult help. So definitely a quick lesson at a young age. I couldn't even drive. My mom had to drive me up there to set up the nets the first summer. So definitely a crash course in a little bit of leadership. Handling a lot of people, dealing with irate parents. So it was interesting for sure.
Hold on. Irate parents in soccer? That would never happen.
I think it was from 6 to 16, right? So it was a mix. Yeah. And I also ref the entire time as well, too. So, yeah, it was definitely a good mix of leadership, responsibility. If I'm being honest, I probably wasn't ready for it, but you kind of fake it.
But who's ever ready for anything, right? I think sometimes If we were to stop and think about anything, it's like, oh, I'm not ready for that. But trial by fire, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If there's anything that gets you ready for life, it's coaching or reffing kids soccer because, oh my gosh, people can be pretty tough.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had to call the police a couple times. I had one of those old brick cell phones. I had to cancel some games. I was only 15. I can't believe I even got the job looking back on it. So I did have some adult help here and there, but it was mostly me all afternoon.
Wow. Calling the cops on parents. That's interesting.
Yeah.
With the old Zach Morris brick phone. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember those days. I kind of miss those.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I kind of miss those. Okay. If we were to look at your high school yearbook, what would it say about who you were then? And would that person have guessed where you are today?
Whew. By the end of high school, I had like long hair to here when I probably had the picture taken the summer. I mean, I always had it back in a ponytail. When I had the picture taken the summer before, I was wearing a suit. It was long-ish, but not that long. Would the person then look at me today? I don't know. Wow. I mean, he'd probably be a little confused, right? I mean, I think you can say that about a lot of people, 30 years ago. So, yeah, a little confused.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
A lawyer. I thought my dad's an attorney, so I just assumed I'd go to law school and be an attorney. And then I started studying for the LSATs in college and realized pretty quickly I would make a mediocre attorney at best. And, I would probably always be my dad's son in law.
Yeah. How was that discussion? Was that a hard discussion to have, to say, hey, Dad, this just is not my path?
Oh, he wasn't pushing me. So there was no pressure on it. I was kind of pushing myself. My dad's a real estate attorney, or a soon-to-be retired real estate attorney. Attorneys retire very slowly. So he's a soon-to-be retired real estate. He didn't care at the end of the day, or maybe he did, but he never let on. And then I did title searching for his law firm and for him the back half of college. So some good, real life mortgage experience, at least in the title end. So gave me a deeper understanding of the mortgage business to a certain degree, and title. So that was great experience.
I love to hear that because sometimes, again, like you started off saying, nothing is linear. Nothing is, oh, we went here and then I got this job and move along the line. No, it's like, well, it's messy and you figure it out. But how cool that you probably wouldn't have had that experience of, in the title role if you had not said no to wanting to be a lawyer.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of like my precursor to being a lawyer.
Oh, gotcha.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
then after that, I graduated from college, and I've told this story a number of times. And I ended up in my grandparents' basement. I grew up in Erie, PA, 2 hours from Pittsburgh, where I live now. And then for the first almost year of my mortgage career, I made $1,000 a month. That was it. Hard to live off $1,000 a month, even the year 2000. And I
Yeah.
lived in my grandparents' basement. Every Sunday, my grandmother, who's still alive, would wash all my shirts, iron all my shirts with starch. And my grandfather, I didn't know how to tie a tie, tied all my ties. So they'd hang them all up for me. I had a bunch of ill-fitting suits from my uncle, and I wore a suit because I looked like such a baby at 22. So I wore a suit every day at work, and lived in my grandparents' basement for the first year of my career. So you talk about being hungry and working hard. I didn't have any clients. I didn't have any realtor partners. All I did was make calls, study, learn. So it made me really hungry to get out of my grandparents' basement. Uh,
I'm
really
sure
hungry.
they loved having you there. I'm sure they loved
Oh,
having
they
you
did.
there.
Yeah, it's the house my mom and her siblings grew up on, and my grandma still lives there. So it was definitely a cool experience. Even though it wasn't cool then, looking back, it was a really cool experience. And there's no way I would work that hard if I had a 9 to 5 job, like if I was an engineer, making 30 or 40 grand a year, or an attorney. So it made me work a lot harder for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure you got ragged on from your friends, like, "Oh, here comes Holland. Is
Right.
is grandma and grandpa coming with you?
You
They gonna
think?
drop you off?"
You think?
I mean, maybe not. I'm sure grandma would cook for friends and, she was
Oh
probably
yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, yeah. It was cool. It was all good, and I'm glad it happened. Looking back on it,
All right. So switching gears just a little bit, you have become a strong leader in the mortgage industry, but
thank you.
I want to know, was there a moment that you realized, and what was the moment? Okay, this is my lane. This is where I want to be. What kind of sparked that realization? Because we know in our 20s, I don't think anyone tells you how hard your 20s are, first of all. You just
Sure.
kind of go along the path and, like, all right, I like this. And, you're living in grandparents' basement. Like, okay, this is good. This is good. I like wearing a suit. I like where this is going. But was there a pivotal moment to tell you, like, I'm really good at this? This is going to be my forever position.
Yeah, I mean, I knew pretty quickly. My first boss, told me I had to sign a non-compete, and I said I'm not doing that. And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I'm going to start my own company within the next 5 years." I mean, that was just me thinking that. But then I started to gain a little success, get a little momentum, and I knew it was something I'd be good at. I was good with the numbers. I was good with customers, even at a young age. I felt comfortable. Didn't make me nervous. Meeting someone who was buying, back then, like a $300,000 house. I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable networking with realtors. I used to go door to door to realtors' office, passing out rate sheets when realtors were still in the office, or bringing donuts. And not that I was lighting the world on fire, but for me, the next year I made a little bit of money. I wasn't on the $1,000 a month draw, and I wasn't living in my grandparents' basement, so I felt, successful for what I was doing.
What did that boss say? I'm so curious, when you said, I'm going to go start my own company. Was he like, yeah, sure, kid? Or was he supportive?
I mean, he thought I was probably full of it, but I think he kind of liked the gumption of it. He kind of liked that I was forward thinking.
Yeah, he's probably like, who is this kid? Okay, let's see
Yeah,
what you do. Do you
yeah.
still keep in touch with that guy?
That's a whole different story for a different podcast. But no, I,
Oh,
I don't. Yeah, I don't. No, that's a different story. Yeah. I
oh, okay.
left
Well,
on good I left on good terms. I left on the best terms possible.
good. Well, of
Yeah.
course you would, because you're a class act.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
All right. So my next question, maybe it seems I don't know, trivial, or maybe people ask this in a lot of interviews, but I think it's a great question. Early on in your career, was there a piece of advice that you got that was just has really stuck with you and has been just really valuable advice that shaped who you would become?
Yeah, my uncle is also a real estate attorney, and this is before the crash. So there's a lot of unsavory characters in the mortgage business. And he said, David, you can do this for the next couple years, 2, 3 years, and make a lot of money, or you can do this the rest of your life and treat people the right way. And I really took that to heart because the mortgage business 20 plus years ago was significantly different, not as regulated. Dare to say it was kind of the Wild West. But one piece of advice I give to young people in any profession is put yourself in uncomfortable situations, as much as possible, where you're kind of out of your league, a little over your head, and you just get used to it. But put yourself in uncomfortable situations. My one younger cousin asked me that. That's what I told him. And I think that's good advice, because if you're out of your comfort zone, you're probably operating in the right spot then, if you want to grow.
I think that's great advice. I mean, maybe.
Cliche. I'm sure I'm not the first person who said that, but it's true. It's true.
Well, you just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, maybe it's cliche to say, and a diamond doesn't become a diamond without pressure. It's coal
Yeah,
that
yeah,
has extreme pressure, but it's so
yeah.
true. And I
Very
love
true.
that visual. We
Yeah.
do have to put ourselves in comfortable positions that you're forced to learn something new. You're
Mm-hmm.
forced to step out of that comfort zone. And
Feel the fear and do it anyways.
yeah, I
That's
tell
not
my
for
kids
me. That's from Carl White. But feel the fear and just do it anyways. Put
yeah.
yourself in uncomfortable situations. That's kind of where the growth happens.
That's something that's big in our family. I tell my kids that all the time, like, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to do that. I'm like, that's okay. Do it afraid. No one's
Yeah.
going to know. Just do it
That's what
afraid. You're
we
still
tell our
doing it.
kids. Put yourself out there. Put
Yeah.
yourself out there.
Yeah. It's good advice. Leaders, I think, are often shaped by failure as much as success.
Mm-hmm.
It goes both ways. We learn from the things we do terrible and don't work out, and then we learn from our successes too. Can you share
There's
a
a hundred
time?
there's 100 cliches for that, right? But
I
it's true.
know, I
Yeah.
know.
The more times you fail, the more successful you are. If you keep trying again, the boxing analogy, pick yourself off the map, but it's so true.
Can you share a time is there anything that sticks out in your past that you really learned the hard way?
I mean, I would say in the last 5 years, spending a lot of money, like 6 figures plus on technology, and that technology not working out and abandoning the project. I mean, those are easy ones. And just the everyday failures, day in and day out.
That hurts, spending 6 figures on something that's not going to work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really hurt.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Okay, so I want to go down the path of vision and values, and I'm going to create this visual for you. Okay, so stay with me. If I were to hand you a megaphone or a microphone, I guess a microphone and a megaphone in this world could be the same thing, right? And you had the chance to speak to every single loan officer out there in the United States, and you're out there for 1 minute, what's something and what's a message that you would just want to shout from the rooftops to have people know or hear?
That's a hard question. You kind of got me on the spot, but the one piece of advice that I would probably say, find someone who's 5 years ahead of what you want to do and see what they're doing. I mean, there's no reason. I'm a big believer in not reinventing the wheel. So there's a lot of successful loan officers out there. Look at what they're doing and make it your own, right? That's one piece of advice. And the other, what else I'd say is the only way to grow, and not everybody wants to grow, and that's okay, is to find help. Don't try to do everything. You don't want to be the maitre d', head cook, bottle washer, waiter. You need people to help you, or you're gonna, we've covered this theme before, or you're gonna work yourself into the ground.
Yeah.
It's a hard business. There's a lot of expectations set on us, and one person can't do it alone, for decades. You need help. You need help to scale. First, become the expert at your craft, know mortgages inside and out, and then get help. Get assistance, get a great processor, great team, great leaders, and then go from there.
Well, I can imagine you now shouting that from the rooftop saying,
I
become
mean, I
the
kind of
expert.
do. I mean, I kind of do, you know, the
You
LOs
do.
that I talk to.
Yeah. Become the expert. Don't try to do everything. I mean,
Yeah,
that's for any industry, but especially for what we're doing because it's
sure.
so easy to get pulled in all different directions. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
great advice.
Yeah.
Do you think there are myths out there about leadership that you really wish people would just stop believing?
I think one myth, is I think leaders are grown. Some people have more natural leadership than others, but you kind of just grow into it slowly, right? And then there's a lot of self doubt when you're a leader too. I question myself all the time. Another thing with leadership too, there's different styles of leaders, right? There's the leader who's going to beat their chest and all gung ho, and there's a great speaker, and then there's people who kind of lead quietly by example and don't want the limelight, right? And kind of lead in the background. And sometimes those are the best leaders. It's not always the rah person. It's sometimes the person who does and leads quietly in the background.
What style do you think you would fall into? What category?
I think I'm probably a mix of both. I think I'm comfortable in both lanes.
Yeah, and there really is no right or wrong with leadership, I guess for different styles of people that need
in in
different
in,
things.
in different industries too.
Mhm. And it's interesting with the three of you, with Robert and Tom and you each have a different style of leadership that you bring to the table. And each with your unique personalities, that's for sure, your strengths. How do you keep the team rowing in the same direction while still allowing everybody to shine, with each of your different styles?
With the three of us,
Yeah.
I mean, we have goals. We have a vision of what we want to do, each quarter, each year, and then long term. I mean, sometimes you got to pivot, but we know our vision, and that's kind of our guiding principle of what we want to become and what we want to do.
So regardless of the personality and the characteristics that each of you have, staying true to that foundation and the vision and the goal,
Yeah,
that's the root of everything.
I mean, like any company, I mean, we stray from that. We try to bring it back. And then we have a great team that kind of like keep us true to what we're doing and keep us marching forward.
Yeah, I see that about you guys. I think you do a great job with that.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. When you are not wearing the mortgage hat, Mr. Holland, what are you doing? I mean, I know you have a big family, extended family. What's a hobby or interest that really lights you up?
I mean, I like the outdoors. I'm hiking, I'm running on the trails. I do yoga pretty much every day. I'm running my kids around the soccer and swimming and other stuff like that. In the live music. So yeah, kind of a good mix of stuff, like eating out.
Nice, of course. And I know
Yeah.
you're a great cook too.
Yeah. Well, my wife's better, but I'm kind of the sous chef in the arrangement.
Nothing wrong with that. Everyone needs a good sous chef.
Travel. We love traveling as much as we can, preferably without the kids. But when you got 4 young kids, you got to bring them along a lot of times.
I know you're a busy guy. I think sometimes if people don't know you, just to see you like, okay, you're just the mortgage guy. Well, no, dad of four, always got something going on. I mean, I think that really lends to a full life. And I
Absolutely.
think, and I really like internally, we are always talking about, the entire person, not just the mortgage side of somebody, but okay, those check-ins of relationships and
Hmm.
how's your stress level? What are you doing to bring joy to your life? And yeah, just to toot your horn, I think you do a good job of leading by example for that.
The mortgage Dave is boring. The real Dave is much more interesting once you peel off the layers.
Oh my gosh. What would be all right, well, let's go with that. Well, let's get to the interesting Dave. I mean, I think all sides of everybody are very interesting, but what's something for the fun Dave that people would be just maybe a little surprised to know?
The fun Dave. I went to Vegas this summer and saw the Dead in the Sphere. Fun Dave's really into the Grateful Dead. So that's fun Dave. Fun Dave loves mountain climbing big glaciated mountains. when I can get away. So yeah,
Fun Dave's the man. I
fun
love
Dave
it.
is fun. Yeah.
That's great. Well, let's, going down the tunnel of wrapping things up, because you've been you've been a great person to interview, and you've played along with all my wacky questions. But we're gonna get weird. So, if leadership were a recipe, Dave, because I know you like to cook, what would be some key ingredients, and then what would be things that you would never add to this mix, this lovely recipe for the perfect leader?
I should review these questions in advance, Rachel. I'm thinking what kind of recipe. What you don't want to put in the mix
Yeah.
is, too much ego.
Yeah.
You need like a touch of ego, but you don't want it like where it's overarching and look at me, because when you're running an organization of our size, or even just your own small loan business, right? You need help. You can't. You got to be great to your processors, your underwriters, your closers. And when I was younger, I was so gung ho all the time, and I would just lose it in situations when people made a mistake. Now you just got to give people a little bit of grace, because it's a complicated business. There's humans involved. There's surprises all the time. So not much ego. I mean, you need to work hard. This is not, unfortunately, a 5-day week business. I work 7 days a week. I don't work super hard on the weekend, but I do have to check in with customers and realtors and our LOs here. So you need a dedication to your craft for sure. This business is not for the light of heart, for loan officers or even like processors or underwriters at our company. I feel like I'm straying off the question, but
No, that's great.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. All right. Well, you're going to really wish you reviewed these questions ahead of time, because this is a really good one. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Yeah.
So, if you were going to create a movie about your mortgage career, who would play Dave Holland?
Don't like that question. Give me a good woman actress name. Actress
Oh
name.
my gosh. Stop it. You've never thought about that? You never thought like, oh, if someone's going to create a movie of your life, or maybe the book, you write the book of, Dave Holland someday, and then it's a bestseller, and they're like, we got to create a movie out of this. You've never thought about who would play you?
Never thought about it once.
Really?
Mm-mm.
People are going to have to write in and tell us who they think would play you.
Give me some ideas.
I don't know. I was hoping you'd have a good one.
I've actually never thought about that, Rachel.
Wow. Well, now we're going to have to Google.
Who would you think it would be?
I'm really bad with actors' names, so I'd have to research. If anyone has any good comments, you can let us know. Who's going to play Dave Holland in the movie? All right. So, okay, here's a super bizarre question to end on. You're going to love it. So, if we had to describe your leadership style in terms of a dance move or a song, what would it be? Would it be like the cha-cha? Like the cha-cha really fast? Would it be like
a dance
waltz?
move? Yeah, let's go with the waltz.
The waltz, classic.
Classic, yeah.
Controlled.
Yeah, I like that.
Graceful.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Fun. We might cut that.
Yeah. It was going so good.
Oh my gosh. Dave.
You don't want a ton of time on this though, do you?
No, I'm going to keep this in here. I'm keeping all of this in here.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Holland, thank you so much for giving me some time today and diving in a little bit deeper, peeling back some layers. I think it's always really cool to ask some strange questions in a different way. So thanks for giving us some of your leadership advice. And
thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome. Great to be on with you. And hey, everybody, make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning into Lending Leadership. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.